Welcome to a new episode of Mind Shift Change. Thank you all for being here today. Today, we are going to be discussing China's role and feelings about this war. They've been a little bit quiet, but today, Victor Gallo is going to explain exactly China's role and how they feel about this whole war.
Bring this war completely to an end and to make sure that countries like the United States and Israel will never dare to impose another war of any kind on Iran. So China's goal is very clear. China wants to do the right thing, to call on all countries in the world to acknowledge that this war against Iran is a war of aggression. And the United States and Israel have no right to impose this war on Iran, and this war need to be stopped immediately.
So basically, what he's saying here is China is feeling like this is a war of aggression, that it's not something that Iran started. This was started by the United States and Israel, and it basically needs to stop immediately.
For the moment, there is probably no single iota of trust in Iran for the United States.
And just to go back in time, if you guys remember, I think that was back in June when Iran was in negotiations and talks with the United States. They were attacked between negotiations. So negotiations, dates were already set, and they were attacked. So, and they had this 12-day war where the United States went and obliterated their nuclear capabilities. This is what we were told as the American public. This was obliterated. We spent all this money on these warplanes to go and drop all these bombs, and now the threat is gone. This is what we were told. So fast forward to January, February, they're back in talks. They're still negotiating. February, same thing. I think they had the negotiations on a Thursday or a Friday. By Saturday morning, they were bombed. They were supposed to be meeting again that following Monday. Okay, so they were attacked again during active negotiations. So again, the question becomes, who can trust the American government?
So how can Iran being convinced that it's still worthwhile to start negotiation with the United States?
And he makes a really good point. Who can trust America? Americans don't even trust the American government, let alone a foreign country that has, in good faith, attempted to negotiate, actually come up with an agreement with the same country. A few years later, a new president comes into power, rips up the agreement, and then threatens to use military war against you if you don't stop your nuclear program, if you don't stop your nuclear program, if you don't get rid of all your missiles, if you don't stop supporting your neighbors. So a lot of people don't understand, like when we hear things on our side of the media, in the Western side of the media, we're made to believe that Iran is a terroristic state because they support terrorism. I think one thing that is not really talked about enough is, and I feel like this should be said every single time someone is called a terrorist, really take a look at who is the aggressor in these situations, who was the oppressor, who is the person trying to expand their power. It's not Iran. It's not Pakistan. These people just want to live. But because Iran supports, which is in their constitution, supports the Palestine state, yes, they're going to protect them against the aggressors, which are U.S. and Israel. So because they protect their neighbors against aggression, we in the West consider them terrorists. So I just wanted to make that point very clear, that the terrorists are usually the ones that are the aggressors. They're usually the ones that start shit, right?
To use war against Iran will not achieve peace. It will destroy peace, and it will really cause huge repercussions on the United States itself, as well as huge disaster for mankind as a whole. I think the prolonging this war will result in three major crises. One is the energy crisis, which is happening as we speak. Secondly, it will lead to a major global economic crisis. Thirdly, it will result in one of the most important, largest scale, and possibly unprecedented financial crisis in human history.
So now he's talking about the crisis that this war is bringing on, the economic crisis. I'm sure everybody's feeling a little bit of that pinch already because, first of all, we have to pay for this war. So prices are going to go up, or the value of the dollar is going to keep decreasing, which is going to cause us more economic issues in the West. So the energy crisis, guys, we are just seeing the beginning of this. A lot of people have already saw their gas increase, the price of gas for their vehicles. But now before I left the States, I had already seen the price of energy, light bills, gas, water. I had already seen that starting to increase. But now we're in a whole different ball game. So a lot of people are already experiencing the economic effects, the energy effects, and the financial crisis. I think a lot of people in America have already been experiencing a financial crisis, honestly. But this war is really going to exacerbate that so much more. And I really hope that you guys are prepared for this. You know, I'm a real estate investor and I've raised my children. I have two small children now, but I have adult children. And before this war was going on, I saw the economic and the financial and the energy crisis that was to come in the States. And I would always tell my daughters, like, guys, the most important thing for you to do is to own and be in control of your housing, of your energy, and of your food. We started this whole thing, we attempted to go off grid, bought some land, built some containers. We probably needed to build an underground bunker as well, but we didn't get that far. But the whole point was knowing what is to come, how important it is to have control over your roof, over your necessities, your food, your energy. Because as long as the government is in control of those things, especially our particular government in the United States, I think we're going to have some issues. So it's so important, guys, to start planning. If you haven't done so already, I'm not going to say it's too late. It's not too late, but you really need to put things into perspective and start planning on how you're going to get control of your roof, of your energy, of your food. Guys, we went to public school. I went to public school. I was not taught how to garden, how to feed myself, how to create electricity, how to do anything but follow directions so that I can be a slave in the future. So it's not too late, guys, but just stay tuned because he has so much to say.
Indeed, as this war of aggression against Iran launched by the United States and Israel has fully exposed, the greatest certainty in the world of today is the uncertainty of President Trump and his government. And the greatest predictability in the world of today is the unpredictability of President Trump and his government. This is the reality. I think more and more people should agree with what I just now said.
Of course, I'm going to be the first person to stand up and say, I agree with Victor. We just can't be trusted. And one of the reasons is because our current president is so unpredictable. And I have been watching this from afar, guys. Before I left the States, I used to work with teachers, the teachers union, with 401ks, and a lot of people are depending on their security for their future. And with things being as unpredictable as they are, they're affecting people's savings. So some of us don't have savings, some of us do. It's bad for all of us. It's bad for all of us. So him being unpredictable has caused a lot of us a lot of problems, and I don't think they're over yet. So guys, we gotta buckle up.
When history looks back at this year, the year of 2026, because of what the United States has been doing since the beginning of this year, for example, launching this war of aggression against Iran, launching military actions against Venezuela, abducting, hijacking the president of Venezuela and the first lady, for example, and threatening Canada with taking over Canada, threatening Greenland, threatening to violate the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Denmark, threatening wars against so many other countries. The history in the future will look back at the year 2026 and mark it as the beginning of the end of Pax Americana. No matter how you define Pax Americana is coming to an end. And this year is the beginning of the end of Pax Americana. Whatever President Trump and his government are doing right now only have one result or one impact. That is to further accelerate the demise of Pax Americana.
He touched on so many different things, but the most important is 2026, when our grandchildren, if we make it through this, when they look back on history, 2026 is going to be the year where you see the greatest decline of our American government, society, way of life. I have to agree with him on this because, again, I've been watching the decline for so many years. But the important things that he said, like going to a war with Venezuela, I'm going to call that a war because we were dropping bombs, we were killing people, we were destroying families. And not only did we kidnap their current president, everything that we've done has been like rogue and barbaric. So we're really 2025, 2026, we have really been showing our true colors, our true culture, and how we think that we're going to have this global hegemony or else, like by any means necessary. We'll do whatever we have to do. If we have to bomb people, innocent people, children, whatever, we're going to maintain control over the world. Do you know how crazy that sounds? That is what has been going on for so many years, guys. The reason why we have so many assets around the world is because we want to be able to control them. We want to be able to control the areas that we're in. We want to be able to jump up and fight anytime we need to. If we need to take over, like, we have to have this presence in all of these places around the world so that we can maintain control. That is American domination. So that's what he's talking about. And I agree. I feel like 2026 is really going to be that marker because it looked like we had a victory in Venezuela, especially with our propaganda. But now with this particular war against Iran, propaganda can't even do the job. It cannot even cover up what's really happening and what's happening at the gas pumps, what's happening at the grocery store, what's happening to your light bill, what's happening to mortgage rates, what's happening to children that are growing up with no opportunity to even get into the housing market because they're going to be so busy paying for all of this stuff that we're doing right now.
Therefore, philosophically speaking, we need to be very much convinced about this almost inevitable turn in history, the course of history which is being played out, and we do not need to rush it. It will come to an end under its own weight.
What I'm taking from what Victor is saying right there is we're already in quicksand. So that's the reason why China's kind of sitting back. You know, they're like, hey, they're already in their decline, in their demise. We don't even have to say anything or do anything. We don't have to stand up to them because they're already falling. They're already falling. I agree. I agree.
And what President Trump and his government are doing are accelerating the final curtain fall for Pax Americana.
Now, I said this the moment Trump got into the presidency. I was talking to my mom and I'm like, listen, we didn't really have great options to choose from. But what Trump is going to do, as opposed to what, say, the Biden administration, if they were able to continue this situation, I think they would have just, stretched it out, like not did anything too major, try to convince the American public that everything is okay, that their job growth is great, GDP is great, don't go anywhere, keep on putting all of your ducks in this bucket here, and everything will be fine. The difference is with Trump, he's like the person that rips the Band-Aid off. He's the one that's like, nope, you know what? I know what's under there. We're just going to rip it off, and I know it's going to hurt, but this is what's got to happen. So I have to, and this is very rare that I'm going to give Trump his props, but I have to give him his props because the things that have been underlying within our country, he's bringing them to the surface. He's bringing them to the surface, and as much as it hurts, as much as it feels like a punch to the gut, as much as it feels like a golden shower rather than the golden age that he promised us, is very necessary. Very, very necessary.
The Palestinian people have as much rights as the Jewish people, and for anyone to believe that the Jewish people have more rights than the Palestinian peoples, they are actually acting against mankind as a whole. Therefore, if you look at what China is doing and comparing China with any other country, China in the world of today is the staunchest supporter of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people and of the two-state solution. And I believe China will continue to do so.
He made a very good point here. I want you guys to take a look at this map here because this is a display of what countries are actually in support of a Palestinian state. Just in case you didn't know, I just want y'all to take a look here because, of course, Israel is not in support, but that's why they keep expanding their borders and kicking people out of their homes, forcing people, killing people. They don't respect Palestinian lives and for Palestinian to have their own sovereign state. So that's why they've been oppressing them since the 40s.
There is only one litmus test as to which country is a real friend of the Arab people, of the Muslim people, of the Islamic world. And that litmus test is if you support the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. Now, if a country doesn't support the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, it will never be a real friend of the Arab world or of the Muslim world or of the Islamic world.
Victor makes a great point there. You know, if you're not in support of a sovereign people who have lived there, who have made their life in a place, in a land, if you don't support people for having their own sovereignty and just being able to live like within their borders, their house that they're built, their land that they own, to be kicked out because of religious dogma, because your God told you that you were the chosen people and that you're able to just confiscate all this land around you so that you can grow to a bigger nation. If you are cool with that as a country, something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. And you don't know when you might be on the chopping block next. I support a Palestine state. I am a United States citizen, but there's so many citizens that know that this is wrong. Some people are scared to say it, but I'm not.
This war is a war of aggression, and there are war crimes committed against the people in Iran, and there are shocking developments in this war. And there is no single benefit I can ever think about as far as China is concerned. China is completely calling for an immediate end to this war and for thorough investigations into any possible war crimes or crimes against humanity being committed in the course of this war. And for any country to dare to launch a war of aggression in the middle of an ongoing negotiation should be really investigated.
I'm sure everybody is already aware that Bibi is under investigation for war crimes. This is not his first rodeo. This is not his first rodeo. And why do we keep aligning with people who are okay with doing war crimes? Well, just listen to Pete, listen to Trump, listen to these people talk, and you will understand how we can so easily align with another country when their leader is under current investigation for war crimes. He's been doing this. He's been calling for this. He has not been silent about it. But because he has the backing of the good old United States, the old powerful America, then he just continues to do what he does. And then our president tries to step in and say, hey, don't prosecute him. Y'all go ahead and let him go. Y'all know he a good guy. He a good guy. He one of us. That's not going to keep flying. It's not going to keep flying.
China now accounts for more than 1/3 of global manufacturing output, larger than the United States, EU, and Japan combined together. And the Chinese yuan, the renminbi, only accounts for about 3% in international trade in terms of settlement and payment. My view is that the use of renminbi need to be increased the minimum by tenfold, increasing from about 3% now to about 30% eventually. By reaching 30% for the renminbi in global international trade, it will be just more or less proportional to the weight of the Chinese manufacturing and the Chinese contribution to additional GDP growth in the world.
Yet another good point. You know, whether you buying clothes or you buying something at Walmart, Dollar General, wherever you go, I mean, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, stuff that you buy is made in China for us in the United States. Now, I'm not in the United States anymore, so I do see things that are not made in China more often than I did when I lived in the States. But basically what he's saying is we account for 30% of all of the manufacturing that's going on in the world. Yet the United States dollar is more circulated and settled than our currency. So he's like, look, if we're at 3% now, we need to be at least 30% so that it's balanced. Like, y'all remember when Trump came talking about all these tariffs and they're taking advantage of us? No, we have been taking advantage of them. We have been trading our useless, failing dollars for manufactured products that we can use. But we're just giving dollars. They're putting their sweat, blood, tears into making these things. Now, I'm not saying all the Chinese manufacturing is good manufacturing. However, that's what we consume. So we consume so much of what China manufactures. He's saying it just makes sense for our currency, sales and transactions to be settled in our currency because we're the ones that's creating these things. So why wouldn't it make sense where it's proportion, where it's more of a balance instead of, oh, well, you have to settle your transactions in the United States dollar. And y'all, the petrodollar is going away. We're going to talk about that on another thing. But the petrodollar, that was the last thing pretty much standing us up, giving us value. And now that we're tearing up all the oil, and for me, I hope that we leave. This is us being kicked out. This is our eviction notice. We don't have any business over there. Everything that we do over there is to their detriment and ours. Us as United States citizens, just regular working people. Now, if you are in the arms business and you get paid off war, it's good for you. But how many of us get paid off war? We're sending our family out there to fight in these wars. And the only people that's winning are the people at the top. Why? Because they're getting paid. And then they don't value life. So they're ruining, destroying people's lives all over the world. And what my fear is we get kicked out of the Gulf area and we move down to South America. And I'm in South America. I don't want y'all down here. But I just read that they made an agreement with Paraguay that they can have an army base in Paraguay. Now, I got to look into that a little bit more. So y'all let me know in the comments, if y'all know anything about that. But that's my new spot. I love Paraguay. I don't want America there. I don't want their troops there. I don't. And I don't think that we need to be there either. First of all, I don't want to keep paying for our troops to be all around the world. They should be at home And if somebody threatens us, then they fight. But we shouldn't be going all over the world picking fights with countries. And not only picking fights, but killing, murdering people, whether they're leaders, whether they're civilians, a school of children. We're literally killing people all over the world. And you and me, regular old United States citizens working hard, just trying to keep our, head above water, we're paying for this. And our children will be paying for this. And their children will be paying for this. They just asked for $200 billion. Or was it 20 billion? I think it was 200 billion. So we're going to be paying for this for a long, long time, even as it stands right now.
I want to see the war ending immediately, tonight, hopefully. And I want the United States and Israel to go back and search their soul. And they should never be allowed to launch another war of aggression against any other country, including against Iran.
So I'm going to have to give Victor pushback. And it's the first time that I had to do this. But notice he said Israel and Trump need to search their soul. No, they ain't got one. It doesn't exist. It's gone. It left long time ago. Their soul has left the building. Okay? There's no way that you can indiscriminately flatten, kill, destroy boats, homes, schools, churches, hospitals. Where? So what? So who? There is no soul. There is no empathy. There is no love. There is no respect. It left. It's gone. So as much as I feel you, I got to push back on that because that ain't going to happen. That's just not going to happen. I don't know. Maybe there's a small, teeny, weensy chance. Just a little one. But as far as I'm concerned, from what I've been watching and the way that they talk about killing people and breaking things and smashing things and murdering people and destroying people, who does that? People with no soul, people with no empathy, people who don't respect life. So as much as I want to believe that some soul searching might take place before it's too late, before they ruin the world more than they already have, I don't think that is possible. I don't think they can search their soul. Are they going to be searching for their soul? Maybe they can search for it. Like, where did you go? Marco Polo.
Israel should never pretend that they have the truth. They have developed nuclear weapons. There are reports that on quite a few occasions they threaten to use nuclear war against other countries. They have no right to demand any other country, not only in the Middle East, but anywhere in the world, not to develop nuclear weapons because they violated the rules first. And they now possess nuclear weapons. They threaten to use nuclear weapons.
So this is the meat and potatoes, guys, because this is what will affect us all. Regardless of where something nuclear drops, we all can get fallout behind this. We all can suffer from radiation poisoning from this. So if you don't know about the Samson option, Israel lives by this. That's like a part of their culture history. Okay. They believe that the Samson guy, he was about to be killed by all these people. So instead of him being killed, he basically brought the whole building down on himself and everyone else to prevent him losing. And not only do I feel like Israel will do that, like in a minute, I talked to my cousin. He's from the future, but this happened back in 1950. So y'all gotta go, 64. So y'all gotta go check out the videos for that. But basically, my cousin told me that our president was going to get so much condemnation from the rest of the world that we were going to drop the first nukes. So I kind of feel like we're going to be the ones behind it. I mean, we have over 5,000 nukes. Israel has 90. We got a lot more to just give away. Or maybe, you know, it could be Israel dropping a bomb, but we supplied them with it, right? And so therefore it's still us. We supported it. So I guess Israel could still drop it and it's still us because it's our president who is extremely compromised. And we're going to get into Epstein later. But I think that all these times that BB keep coming over here, not only was he telling Trump, oh, well, those 2 assassination attempts that you had, that was Iran. That was them. So we got to get them because they tried to kill you, bro. They tried to kill you. So now, you know, we got to go get their ass. That's what I feel. That's one thing I'm thinking BB saying to him. But also, and he probably only had to do this one time out of the 8 times that he didn't came already since Trump been president. Just show him a little picture, show him a little video of Trump being compromised. Because Epstein's places was all, you know, videoed and mic'd up. So BB got that information. And I think in order for some things not to come out, all he got to do is flip open that phone and say, you said what, Mr. President? You want to go against what I'm saying? You don't want to listen to me and what I'm telling you? Well, let me show you something. That's what I personally think. I don't have proof of it, but it sure does line up. And like Victor was saying, and also one of my biggest arguments, who are we to demand from a whole nother country that they are not allowed to get nuclear weapons? When one of the countries, the main country that's right there, that's your neighbor, pretty much, you didn't even abide by the rules and the laws of obtaining nuclear weapons. You still won't even admit to it all the way. So Israel doesn't have the companies that are coming in to maintain a watch and make sure that this is what they have. They say what they say they have what they say they have. They are not a part of the non-proliferation system. So what gives you the right to tell somebody else what they can and cannot have? Oh, because you're bigger and better. Okay. Oh, okay, I got you.
First of all, I want to tell the Israeli government and the Israeli leaders that the moment Israel uses a nuclear warhead against any other country, including against Iran, it will be the demise of Israel as a country, as a state. Why? Because by dropping a nuclear warhead against another country, Israel will become the public enemy number 1 of mankind, because mankind will never support Israel to use nuclear warhead against another country, killing hundreds of thousands, if not more, people, and they will really ignite huge condemnation among other countries against the government or the regime in Israel and causing the demise of Israel as a regime, as a country. Therefore, think twice and always use the Chinese wisdom that if you dare to use a nuclear weapon against any other country, you may cause the demise of your own country. That's number 1. Number 2 is that if Israel dares to use a nuclear warhead against other country, it will ironically accelerate the whole process of other countries in that part of the world try to build a nuclear bomb. And eventually there will be a huge explosive growth of nuclear weapons in that part of the world. And eventually it probably will cause the destruction of the whole region as, for example, a livable environment for hundreds of millions of people. I think it is right now the high time to expunge the evil as represented by Jeffrey Epstein and whoever who is with him. Now, this is a very important point. I do not want to go into further details. I think the evil as represented by Jeffrey Epstein, need to be fully expunged in the world, including in the relations between Israel and the United States.
Does China have these files?
Well, eventually everything needs to come out to the sun. Let's wait. China will never give in to any pressure by any country if they want to bind China with their unilaterally imposed sanctions against any other country. China never will give in to such unilateral sanctions unless they are blessed with the Security Council of the United Nations.
China's like, look, we're not going to deal with all that sanctions. We're not going to give in to your bulliness. But I always wonder, like, when I listen to a lot of the financial talks and speeches and meetings that they have, our number one thing that the representatives from the United States say is China is our number one threat. And if we don't put all this money towards AI and data centers, then China's going to win. Well, we can't let China win. We can't let... Fool, China already won. What you mean? Are you serious? Are you serious right now? So I used to wonder, like, if China's such a big threat and you doing all this and putting all this money towards beating China and they can't win and they can't have this, why you ain't never attack them since they such a threat? You never attack them. They have nuclear weapons, some 500-600, but enough. And China army, have y'all seen them walk? You seen them march? I'm not playing no games with China. I don't even want to visit China, okay? Because I'm an American citizen. I don't even want to visit. They got it. They won. We trying to fight a war that we can't win yet again. Yet again. And who are the major losers? Us. Who are the winners? Yeah, some of them people in the stock market, these certain companies, because they know how to play the game. They know when Trump gonna say what he gonna say, so they can make their money, pull on out, and all us little people still be jacked up, even in a worse position than we was before we started.
Iran right now is exercising right of self-defense. Iran is being invaded. Iran is being bombed out by other countries which deliberately invaded Iran. Iran is fighting for its own survival. Therefore, if anyone in Iran wants to use services as provided in the public by Beidou, no one should be surprised. It is not going to be construed as a Chinese military support for Iran in its war against Israel or against the United States. I would say anyone who demands that China should discontinue the Beidou service to any other particular country in the world doesn't know how to respect China. China will never give them any attention if they don't have any justification to demand that China need to discontinue China's service to any other country. The Beidou service is global. Anyone, any country in the world can use that.
Iran, they have every right to protect themselves against a war of aggression. Now, some of y'all might be like, oh, well, they've been saying death to America for 47 years. That's why we got to kill them. They've been threatening us. No, they've been saying death to America and Israel because we're over there killing their neighbors. That's why they said that. But if our government knew anything about Iran, about Islam, about the fatwa that was issued by the leader that they just murdered, that they were not even working towards a nuclear weapon. It was against the religion at that time for the religious leader that they murdered. He established that, no, we're not going to use nuclear weapons. We're not going to have them. We're not going to drop them. We're not going to make them. It was a fatwa. It was a religious fatwa. So for us to be like, oh, well, no, they've been threatening us. And what did Trump say? If we didn't get out there on that day, then they would have took over the whole Middle East. What? Who's believing this? Who is really believing this? Come on, guys. Come on. We got to put our thinking caps back on. And that's only a piece of it. Again, if you had people in place that were advising him, and maybe if we went to Congress and actually did this the right way, people would put together that, hey, this is not going to be a good situation. I think we should maybe not do this. Not only do they have a religious fatwa not to obtain a nuclear weapon, the people that you have put in place have already said that they're not a threat to us, no nuclear threat to us. But Muslims are not going to surrender to a man. They surrender to Allah. They will lie their lives down for Allah. So they not worried about your threats. They not worried about no bombs. They know as long as they do the right thing, they're not worried about you. So I think if we would have known this going in, then we would be able to predict their readiness and their commitment. Now, I'm not saying that their government is perfect. It don't have to be. Ours isn't either. But can somebody come over here and start dropping bombs and killing people and their whole entire families and flattening blocks? Will we have a problem with that? Will we have a problem if Iran put their military in Mexico on our border? Will we have a problem with that? Okay. So that's the point. We have been terrorizing them and their neighbors for many, 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 many moons. So my hope and prayer is that we don't return. We pack up and leave and never come back. And I just hope they don't turn their sights on South America, which I know they already have. I know they had troops on the ground in Argentina not too long ago, right when they started doing the Venezuela thing. And I don't know how cool they are with Chile. I just don't know, but they need to get out of there. They need to get out of there. I just hope they don't come down here, but I'm feeling it in my bones, Spurs, okay? As Trump would say, that we're next. South America is next. It's the next target for their aggression. Because it was like the first. It maybe wasn't the first, but they don't care. They just aggressive. And who are the terrorists? I mean, just put aside the propaganda. Who is the aggressor? Who is the one that loudly and proudly says, we're going to kill them, we're going to kill them, we're going to kill them? If you notice, Iran will give warning. He'll give people time to evacuate. They're like, look, okay, y'all did what y'all did. There was employees there. You didn't care about life. You just wanted to mess up our energy sector. So I'm going to let y'all know that I'm targeting this, this oil refinery. This is where I'm targeting. So y'all get ready, because over the next couple of days, I'm going to destroy them. How is that terrorism? How? Who is the real terrorist in this situation? Who is the one that's so happy about killing people and breaking things and expanding their power? Just ask yourself that.
What I said is plain vanilla. If anyone has some understanding of war and military operations and geopolitical evolution, for example, they should be prepared for things getting worse because of the US participation in this war against Iran. The United States already started this war against Iran, and the situation is already getting worse and worse, and more stakes are being threatened, for example, and the stake is getting worse and worse. So don't be surprised if more countries will be involved. For example, President Zelensky of Ukraine wanted to be involved one way or another, and as a result, Iran threatens to treat any part of Ukraine as a legitimate target for it to attack inside Ukraine. So you see the spilling over effect. Therefore, I think it is the responsibility for all the countries in the world to stop the war right away before it gets out of control, before more and more countries, especially more and more larger and military powers, getting involved in this war. This war, according to my best judgment as of today, already has all the ingredients which may lead it to flare up into a world war.
Now, I'm going to give a teeny tiny bit of pushback there, because Victor is basically saying, like, hey, we need to stop this because Ukraine is talking about joining in, and if this expands and other people get involved, this could be a very messy situation. Very true. No doubt in that. The thing is, the people who have the motivation wants this to be a messy situation. They want to bring about the end of the world. That's what their goal is. They are so caught up in their delusional religion that this is the way it needs to be. I just need to start it. I don't care if actually my place burned down too, because I need to build this third temple. And nobody is better than us anyway, so I don't care. Y'all go kill each other. That is the point. And now we have generals or colonels and our leaders in our army and our armed forces telling our soldiers that you're fighting God's war and this will bring on Armageddon, and don't worry, like, this is noble. You're going to be dying, for the cause. So they don't say that part as much in the news, but there is religious dogma all through here. They are really trying to bring about the end of the world. So that is why I don't doubt the fact that they'll go nuclear. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
First of all, Iran has fully punctured the invisibility of the anti-missile system claimed by the United States. Iran has fully punctured the so-called Iron Dome or the David Sling or the other David Sling, etc., all these anti-missile systems claimed by Israel. This is profound. This is of global implications.
Y'all remember when y'all president was like, he designed some new warships and they're going to be like our old warships and they were so great and big and huge? See, something is wrong with the man. We are in an age of drone technology, hypersonic ballistic missiles, okay? They fight in a different war, and the economic war that they're bringing on in the Strait of Hormuz. So he's delusional. He's delusional, guys. We have two delusional maniacs making decisions, hurting people, destroying things, and we are going to be paying for it. Regardless of what happens tonight, we're still going to be paying for all of this stuff that's already going on.
The United States and Israel completely underestimated the real might and the resourcefulness of Iran. Secondly, they have proven to be incapable of defending themselves if Iran continues to engage in this asymmetrical warfare against the United States and against Israel. It means someone must be really making a huge mistake in going into a war against Iran. Now, I do not mean which one is right or which one is wrong, but the simple truth is very simple, That is, the United States has fully exposed its incapability of defending itself because its anti-missile system has suffered a mortal and fatal collapse. And the Israeli system, likewise, has suffered a mortal and fatal collapse. This is for everyone in the world to see. And this has global implications. And the country which is causing this collapse is not, for example, one of the largest and most important military powers in the world. It is Iran, which has been sanctioned and isolated by the United States in particular, and by the West, for example, for all these decades. And Iran can still muster and mobilize enough resources and capabilities to inflict such mortal wounds on the United States and on Israel.
And that's what's happening now. Now, ordinary people, most ordinary people, because you do have some extreme people that are United States citizens. A couple of them are in our government right now. But you have regular, ordinary people that don't work for our government that are extremists. But most of us, we don't want war. We don't approve war. We don't vote for war. But we all pay for it. We all pay for it. So my mother was in war, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. You know, people sign up for the Army and the Navy. My brother was in the Navy. They sign up. First of all, it's probably, you know, one of the better jobs to get, opportunities. They'll pay for your housing. You know, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to provide for your family, right? And to better yourself. That's why people get jobs. They don't get jobs to die for other people's causes, right? That's not really why most people sign up for things. However, that's what's happening. And while our people are dying in a line of fire off over these senseless wars, you and I are going to be paying for it financially, economically. We're stuck holding the bill. So what he's saying has already come to fruition. We've been paying this with our taxes. We've been dying, guys. We've been declining. It's just now in 2026, this is the part that the whole world can see. See, sometimes you can only experience things if you're there. When I living there for so long, I know how hard it is. I saw the grocery bill going up. I saw the light bill going up. I watched the gas go up. I Ubered. I lived in the United States. So I understood and I watched the decline and I understood how hard it was to survive. When you're on the outside looking in, it looks like, oh man, that's the place to go. Like, that's the place to be. There's so much opportunity. I can get a job. I can make money. You just see things differently when you're not there experiencing things for yourself. But now in 2026, when they say the emperor has no clothes and Trump is exposing our weaknesses, now the world can see. We're not going to be able to hide it with propaganda and somebody getting on stage saying, hey, everything is great. There's no problems. We have job creation. That's no longer going to work. Now the world will see how fucked we are. The world can see it, not just by our representative and how delusional he is, but everybody's going to watch our stock market crash, our dollar no longer be the petrodollar, because it's not even going to make it through there if they're not paying in the Chinese currency. So there goes the petrodollar. The world is watching this. The world knows what happens to our currency. And do we have it coming? Yes. Do we deserve it? Our country does, but not the individuals. We've benefited from these cheap Chinese manufactured goods by giving them our useless dollars. Things are about to drastically change in 2026, guys. And you need to be prepared. If you haven't invested before, you need to talk to me because it needs to happen ASAP. You have to get control over your necessities. Because, again, we're being totally exposed. We're naked out here now. Everybody can see what we've been living for the past 15, 20, 25 years, watching our culture decline, our dollar decline, our education system decline, our quality of life decline. I know I'm not the only one that's seeing this. I know I'm not. But now the rest of the world's going to see it. So back to Victor.
It's shocking for everyone in the world. It's shocking to Japan and ROK because they thought that the United States is invisible. They are impenetrable and they have all the foolproof systems in the world. And they depend on the United States to save their own neck. The reality is just the opposite. The United States has fully exposed its fallibility and the vulnerability and what will be the future if war breaks out between the United States and any other country in the world. It is time to call on Washington to restore their own sanity. Don't use war as an instrument. It's not going to make America great again. It probably will bleed the United States profusely if they continue to use war as their first choice. War, according to Chinese philosophy, allow me to mention, for thousands of years, we always believe war should always be the last resort. And any country, any political groups which thrive on shooting from their hips will eventually suffer the consequences. Containing the three major crises, the energy crisis, the economic crisis, and the financial crisis, which are brewing right now as we speak in the United States and in the world, from exploding into one of the most lethal and destructive crises in human history, I would call on President Trump to stop the war right away and to find a dignified way to stop the war and to make peace with Iran. Never dare to invade and launch a war of aggression against a country with more than 5,000, if not 6,000 years of history and civilization, a proud Muslim country, a proud Shiite Muslim country in the world.
As much as I want to agree with Victor here about Trump bringing this to an end and making peace with Iran, peace with Iran was available before February 28th. At this point, Iran has demands. Iran is like, get your ass up out of here. Leave us be. Leave us alone. All of your bases over here in the Gulf, out. Out. Don't come back. I already bombed them. Don't come back. Ain't no rebuilding. Get your troops out of here. Out. Right? That's one demand. Two demands. Yemen, Palestine, leave my people alone. Security. Security guarantees. Do not touch them. No expanding borders. None of that bullshit. Right? That's two. Number three, which I hope they a little bit, they can adjust a little bit, because I can't see Trump paying for anything that has to do with the good of the people over there. So what he's saying is, y'all need to pay for the damage that y'all have done, the destruction that you've caused. You need to pay dearly. You And whoever supported you, whoever airspace you was flying in, whoever land you was launching missiles from, the UAE, all y'all figure it out, put y'all heads together. Y'all need to pay for the death and destruction that you caused in our country. Those are demands. That's not a ceasefire. That's not, okay, well, we'll stop dropping missiles. No, those are demands. Until you meet those demands, fuck you. And the horse that you rode in on. That's what Iran is saying, because we told you, we warned you. And even though the first day of this mission, this excursion, and we got another video about that, but even on the first day, you killed over 150 school children. And we still didn't give you the business. They have practiced so much restraint during this war. You wonder, where does that come from? Again, that's their religion. They respect God. They do respect life. Now, they might handle their laws a certain way there to keep their things in track, just like we do. We have death penalties. We lock people up. We do all that. So I'm not saying it's either right, wrong. All I'm saying is, when it comes to this war and it comes to life, they do things in a religious order. They don't step outside the bounds because they fear Allah. They fear the wrath of Allah. And they ain't no bitches. They're not about to lay down just because you got a bigger weapon or you got bombs. This is an asymmetrical attack. Asymmetrical attack. They are going up against two nuclear powers that aggressively started a war with them, and they still didn't lay down. They still wasn't like, oh, okay, well, we give up because I'm sure y'all can beat us. I'm sure y'all can just smash us. They didn't do that. And they're not going to. And that's the whole point. Our delusional team over here in the United States still thinks that, well, if we just bomb them a little more, we'll make them capitulate. And they're not going to do it. And as long as it takes for us to figure that out, you and I got to pay for this. We have to pay for it dearly. So
the bombing of the World Heritage Site, for example, including that Palace of Mirrors, etc., is a crime against humanity. Why do you want to single out a palace, which is generally believed as a World Heritage Site, to bomb? You want to eradicate the Iranian civilization, the Persian civilization. You want to claim that you are the most glorious nation of the species in that part of the world. This, in my best judgment, based on my study of the law, is a crime against humanity. And to bomb out and killing up to about 200 schoolgirls is a war crime. There should be no shirking of responsibility. It's a war crime for any country, for any military, to kill almost up to about 200 innocent schoolgirls is nothing short of a war crime. So I hope investigation will be conducted eventually in due course into all these wars of aggression, war crimes, crimes against humanity, for example, and crimes against mankind. So I hope justice will be done and the root causes giving rise to this war will be completely taken out. And the evil, as represented by Jeffrey Epstein and whoever who is behind him, will be fully expunged in the world of today, making the world a better place, a safer place, and in its turn, making America truly great again.
guys, we have gone through all this, and basically what China is saying is United States and Israel are committing war crimes, crimes against humanity. Okay? And that they need, the people in power need to be prosecuted. This should not go away. These people need to be punished for the death and destruction that they have caused on so many people. So many people. That's China's stance on it. And their philosophy teaches them that they really don't need to intervene in order for justice to come, as long as they're standing on the right side of history. And I personally believe that they are. Now, are they perfect? Do they have that situation with the Uyghurs? Hey, I'm not saying they perfect, but when it comes in that side, they're going to be, having an answer for it. But when it comes to this war, the war that's a global situation, they're standing on the right side of history. They're standing in support of Palestine. They're standing in support of Iran, Russia. And honestly, I think they're already winning. They're not even in the war and they're winning. As bad as we, as United States government, consider China our enemy, they're public enemy number one, really. If you let these financial people tell it, if we don't put thousands and millions and billions of dollars into this, then China's going to win and we can't let them do that. I mean, China already won. Let them have it. What are we good at? All we can do is make typewriters? Like, come on, we got to figure out, let's get back to our soil. What can we produce here? Stop trying to beat everybody else. Stop trying to be in charge. That's like, okay, I used to be a Muslim. And you wonder, like, how do a man have 2 wives and he can't even fully please and satisfy one? How does that happen? Where do they do that at? Right? That's what's going on with America. We want to take on these other wives and get what we can get out of them, whatever we can benefit from them. But the one wife we have, the first one, the America first, the first wife, is in shambles. In shambles. Mental health issues, financial issues, economic, educational, health, in shambles. And now you want to take on another wife? No, I cannot give you my blessing. I'm not going to do it. It's supposed to be America first. So America needs to be taken care of before we try to set up shop in all these other places around the world so that we can have control and reap some benefits that we're really not entitled to. I hate to say it like that, but we're not entitled to everybody else's shit just because we have an army. Might doesn't make right. So let me know how you feel. You can agree, disagree. I'm going to read the comments. I'm just saying, Victor was on point today. I'm glad that he sat down and said everything that he said, and he just put it down for the history books. Hey, we on the right side. We are on the right side. So I appreciate that, guys. Like, subscribe, share. I really appreciate you. I love you guys, and take care. Make sure you inbox me if you got questions about investing, insurance, anything like that. We can talk about it. But we have to get prepared as a species, right? Because it's some really serious things going on, and we have never been this close to this nuclear clock than we are today. So let's talk about it. Mind, shift, change. Let's do it together. Love you guys. Ciao.
So I hope President Trump will not do the wrong thing, which will not make America great. I hope President Trump will do the right thing and keep a great distance from Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, and be aware that everyone in that circle need to expunge themselves of the evil of Jeffrey Epstein.